December 4th, 1872. Cutting silently through the freezing waters of the Atlantic Ocean, a sailing ship drifts alone in the distance. The ship looked completely normal, but the moment they got closer, an eerie silence settled over the water. There wasn't a single sign of life on deck, yet the sails were still billowing in the wind, as if the ship was sailing itself. But stepping aboard, they uncovered something impossible. The pantry was fully stocked with a 6-month supply of food. The crew's valuables and personal belongings left exactly where they belonged, and down in the cargo hold, all 1,701 barrels of expensive alcohol sat completely untouched. Yet Captain Benjamin Briggs, his wife, their little girl, and a crew of 7 had vanished without a trace. There was no blood on the deck, no signs of piracy, not a single catastrophic failure. They didn't just leave. They evaporated into thin air. So, what really happened out there in the middle of the Atlantic? What terrifying event could force a master sailor to abandon a perfectly safe vessel, forcing his wife and young daughter into the unforgiving sea? Today, we are unlocking one of the greatest unsolved mysteries of the 19th century, the chilling true story of the ghost ship, Mary Celeste. To truly understand how bizarre this is, we have to look at exactly who stumbled across this floating graveyard. It was another British merchant ship called the Dei Grazia, commanded by Captain David Morehouse. Now, the ocean is massive, and running into a specific ship is almost statistically impossible. But here's the craziest part. Captain Morehouse actually knew the captain of the Mary Celeste personally. They were friends. In fact, Captain Briggs and Captain Morehouse had just had dinner together in New York City a little over a week before they both set sail. When Morehouse spotted his friend's ship moving erratically, pitching back and forth in the waves, he immediately knew something was horribly wrong. He sent a small boarding party over. The moment his men stepped onto the creaking deck, the silence was deafening. The ship was perfectly seaworthy. Sure, there was about 3 feet of water in the hold, but for a sturdy ship of that size, it was basically nothing. She wasn't sinking, but as the men searched the ship, the details they found painted a picture of absolute blinding panic. The ship's single lifeboat was completely gone. Captain Briggs' navigational instruments were missing, along with the ship's official register. It looked like a rushed, desperate evacuation. But the most chilling clue was sitting right there on the captain's desk. It was the ship's logbook. The final entry was dated November 25th, exactly 9 days before the Dei Grazia found them. That meant the Mary Celeste had been sailing herself, totally empty, across hundreds of miles of treacherous ocean for over a week. When the ship was towed back to port, the media went absolutely insane. People blamed giant squids, sea monsters, and violent pirate attacks. But we can throw the pirate theory out the window right now. The 1,701 barrels of industrial alcohol in the cargo hold were worth an absolute fortune. Pirates would never leave that kind of payload behind. Some people suspected the crew mutinied and murdered the captain. But there were no signs of a struggle. No broken doors, no weapons drawn, and not a single drop of blood anywhere on the ship. So what really chased them off a perfectly safe ship? Modern experts believe the killer was hiding right under their feet. Out of those 1,701 barrels of alcohol, exactly 9 of them were found completely empty. And these specific barrels were made of red oak, which is a highly porous wood. As the ship took a beating from the rough Atlantic waves, those 9 barrels started leaking. The tightly sealed, claustrophobic cargo hold slowly filled with highly flammable, toxic alcohol vapor. It basically turned the bottom of the ship into a massive floating bomb. Imagine Captain Briggs smelling the fumes. He sends someone down to open the hatch, and a terrifying, concentrated rush of explosive vapor blasts out. Panicking that the entire ship is seconds away from blowing them to pieces, he makes a split-second fatal decision. He orders everyone to abandon ship immediately. They scramble into the tiny lifeboat, and they use that thick tow line to tie themselves to the back of the Mary Celeste. The plan was probably just to trail safely behind the massive ship until the toxic gas cleared out. But out in the middle of the Atlantic, the weather changes in a heartbeat. A violent squall hits. A massive wave violently jerks the giant sailing ship forward. The tiny lifeboat gets dragged backward. The tension on that heavy tow line builds and builds until... snap. The rope breaks. Captain Briggs, his wife, his baby, and his entire crew could only watch in absolute horror as the Mary Celeste sailed away into the thick fog, leaving them stranded in a tiny wooden rowboat in the middle of a freezing, endless ocean. So, what actually happened to Captain Briggs and his family once that rope snapped? The harsh reality is, they didn't stand a chance. Stranded in a tiny open rowboat in the dead of winter, they were entirely at the mercy of the brutal North Atlantic. Experts believe that within a matter of days, if not hours, the freezing temperatures, massive swells, and lack of fresh water sealed their fate. They either succumbed to severe hypothermia in the biting cold or were swallowed whole by a rogue wave, dragged down into the dark abyss. The ocean simply erased them, keeping the final terrifying moments of the Mary Celeste a secret forever. What do you think really happened out there in the Atlantic? Drop your craziest theories in the comments below. If you enjoyed diving into this mystery with me, hit that like button, it really helps out the channel. And if you want to explore more of the world's darkest unsolved secrets, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications. I'll see you in the next one.